Donald Trump safe after a new assassination attempt. Police continue their investigation into the shooting death of a schizophrenia patient last night. And 8 more people sentenced to jail for rioting on Nathan Road in 2019. Hello, I'm Melissa Hekalea, and this is TVB News. Donald Trump was the target of what the FBI says appears to be an attempted assassination on Sunday at his golf club in West Palm Beach, Florida. The former president says he's safe and well, and authorities are holding a man in custody. Media reports identify the subject as 58-year-old Ryan Ruth from Hawaii. U.S. Secret Service agents found the man about 400 yards from Trump's playing group and fired at him. It comes 9 weeks after Trump suffered an injury to his ear during an assassination attempt in Pennsylvania. Nazvi Karim with more.
An AK-47 style assault rifle, 2 backpacks and a GoPro camera left behind on a fence about 400 yards from where former President Donald Trump was playing golf at his private club in Florida. Authorities believe the items belong to this man, Ryan Ruth, a 58-year-old from Hawaii. He is reportedly a pro-Ukraine activist who since 2020 switched his allegiance from Trump to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Officials say Secret Service practice is to secure the area 2 or 3 holes ahead of where Trump is playing. An agent spotted the rifle muzzle poking out of the bushes. The agent then fired in that direction before the gunman fled. Trump's playing partner, Steve Witkoff, told Fox News host Sean Hannity that they heard pop, pop, pop before Secret Service agents pounced on Trump to protect him. No injuries were reported. Trump on social media later hailed the Secret Service agents as brave and dedicated patriots and thanked his supporters. He added, "Nothing will slow me down. I will never surrender." Vice President Kamala Harris, Trump's Democratic rival for the presidential election on November 5th, said she was deeply disturbed by the events. President Joe Biden said he directed agencies to make sure the Secret Service had whatever resources it needed to keep Trump safe in the run-up to the election. The Secret Service has come under scrutiny after the July 13th assassination attempt on Trump, when he was shot in the right ear by 20-year-old Thomas Crooks, who was killed by agents. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheetle was forced to resign after the incident. Following Sunday's incident, authorities stopped the suspect's vehicle in Martin County, about 65 kilometers from the golf club. Sheriff William D. Snyder said the suspect, Ryan Ruth, was apprehended minutes after the FBI, Secret Service and his office issued an urgent alert.
Well, we initially took him into custody and held him till the arrival of the federal authorities. The search of the vehicle, looking for any weapons that may be in there, will now be up to the federal authorities and the U.S. Attorney General.
Investigators are now trying to find a motive. Ruth reportedly tried to recruit Afghan soldiers who fled from the Taliban to fight for Ukraine against Russia. His neighbor from Hawaii described him as kind and welcoming.
Like I said, pretty kind, like never mean-spirited and always welcoming, just in general. But if he did have anything to do with it, it's very, very shocking to us, certainly.
Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Beijing has freed Chinese-American pastor David Lynn, who's been jailed since 2006 on allegations of fraud. The release came days ahead of a Congress hearing on cases of American citizens imprisoned in China. The U.S. State Department confirmed on Sunday that David Lynn has returned to the U.S. and met with his family for the first time in 17 years. The 68-year-old California pastor was a member of the underground house church movement in China. Lynn had been working to build a Christian training center before he was charged with contract fraud in 2006. He was initially sentenced to life in prison, but several sentence reductions were made later. Lynn was one of the 3 U.S. citizens that Washington considered to be wrongfully detained. The death toll in the wake of days of heavy rain and flooding in Central Europe is continuing to rise. The floods have claimed 6 lives in Romania and 1 each in Austria and Poland. In the Czech Republic, 4 people who were swept away are missing. Daniel Rao tells us more.
Most parts of the Czech Republic have been affected as authorities declared the highest flood warnings at around 100 places across the country. However, the situation was worst in two northeastern regions that recorded the biggest rainfall in recent days, including the Shanghai mountains near the Polish border. In the city of Opava, up to 10,000 people out of a population of around 56,000 have been asked to move to higher ground. Rescuers used boats to transport people to safety in a neighborhood flooded by the raging Opava River. Parts of the Slovak capital, Bratislava, were underwater on Sunday as flooding and torrential rain wreaked havoc around Central Europe. The entrance to Bratislava's Stupava Castle was flooded as the River Danube reached record levels. Emergency workers set up barricades along the Danube riverbank to prevent further flooding of the city. In the Austrian capital, Vienna, the Vien River overflowed its banks, flooding homes and forcing first evacuations of nearby houses. Authorities declared the entire state of Lower Austria in the northeastern part of the country a disaster zone. Relief forces have so far evacuated 1,100 houses there. Emergency personnel have started setting up accommodation for residents who had to flee their homes due to the flooding. Austrian Chancellor Karl Nehammer said the situation continues to worsen. He said 2,400 soldiers were ready to support the relief effort in Austria. In Poland, Prime Minister Donald Tusk said the situation was dramatic around the town of Kloczko, located in a valley in the Sudetys Mountains near the border with the Czech Republic. Helicopters were used to pick up people from roofs in a few cases. Tusk said energy supplies and communications were cut off in some flooded areas, and regions may resort to using the satellite-based Starlink service. The extreme weather comes after a hot start to September in the region. A hotter atmosphere driven by human-caused climate change can lead to more intense rainfall. Danaral TV News.
8 people have been sentenced to more than 4 years in jail for rioting on Nathan Road during the 2019 Polytechnic University siege. Some 200 people have been convicted of riot-related charges in connection with the siege, with the police calling it an unprecedented case. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Today's sentencing stemmed from protest actions on November 18, 2019. Demonstrators gathered on a section of Nathan Road between Waterloo Road and Hamilton Street after police surrounded the Polytechnic University campus. Some of the protesters hurled petrol bombs at police officers. Authorities arrested 213 people who were then divided into 17 groups for trial. Among the last 20 defendants charged in connection with the PolyU riots, 12 pleaded guilty, while 8 others aged between 23 and 33 were convicted by the court. During sentencing today, Deputy District Judge Wang Ayan said up to 2,000 protesters gathered at the site of the riots, with the majority of them armed and having hurled some 250 petrol bombs at police officers. The judge added that bricks, glass bottles, scissors, and batons were found at the scene after the riots, noting that the protesters were prepared for a fight. The judge emphasized that the protesters did not heed the police's multiple warnings, and that the incident took place in an area with busy traffic, putting other people, including nearby residents and shop owners, in jeopardy. Wang said there's no evidence that suggests the 8 defendants personally engaged in destructive behavior, but they actively encouraged other protesters at the site of the riots. They were sentenced to between 50 and 54 months in prison. With all 17 cases concluded, the police noted the magnitude of the trials, with 575 witnesses giving testimonies, 5,000 pieces of evidence being submitted to court, and some 200 people being convicted of their charges. Authorities described the case as unprecedented and historic, adding that many of the protesters conducted themselves in an organized and military-like manner during the riots. This as the police also thanked the community and the Department of Justice for their support. Timothy Lee, TV News.
Police fatally shot a man in North Point last night after he attacked his family and charged the officers with weapons. Sources say the man was a schizophrenia patient. Mimo Sangai reports.
The 38-year-old man was sent to Rioting Hospital after being shot by police. He was later pronounced dead at the hospital. The incident happened in Camping Building in North Point. Police said they received a report from a man's wife at around 9:30 last evening. She said her husband had attacked her and his 68-year-old mother. Emergency unit officers arrived at the scene, a rooftop unit at the building, and the man was holding a pair of scissors and a knife in his hands. The officers ordered the man to drop his weapons, but the man ignored their orders. One of the officers opened fire after the man tried to attack them with the weapons. The bullet hit the man's chest. Speaking to the media, Superintendent Xin Kwok-ming said the gunshot was needed for the sake of safety of all people at that moment. The deceased was a renovation worker and lived in the rooftop unit with his parents, brother and wife. Bloodstains can still be seen outside the unit. The place was divided into multiple units. Mr. Lam, a neighbor, recalled the noises he had heard before the tragedy. He said the deceased had a close relationship with his brother. The brother told me that the man had mental illness, Lam said. The brother said the man hit their mother last night. They called the police. Many officers came and ordered the man to put down his scissors and knife 3 or 4 times, he said. Sources say the man was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and symptoms often include delusions and hallucinations. A psychiatrist said it is uncommon to see schizophrenia patients attack their families.
I can say that those who have violence gesture or even perform violence act among schizophrenia is very scarce, as most of the psychotic symptoms is mostly targeting on their own.
The doctor said families of schizophrenia patients need to learn how to interact with them.
If you feel the atmosphere is a little bit tense, it is not wise to stay with the patient and argue with the patient about what they experience, but rather they should go and seek sanctions from some safe place and call the police for help.
News 9, TVB News.
Still ahead, Typhoon Babinka lashes Shanghai, forcing airlines and trains to suspend services. The Consumer Council received more than 1,000 complaints against airlines in the first 8 months of the year. And meet Miss Hong Kong 2024. Welcome back. Typhoon Babinka smashed into Shanghai today, forcing more than 41,000 people to evacuate. It's the strongest tropical cyclone to hit the city since 1949, with flights, trains, and expressways suspended during the Mid-Autumn Festival. At least one person was injured because of the storm. Danny Zhou reports.
Residents in Shanghai and China's densely populated east coast were bracing for Babinka, the 13th typhoon of this year, bringing violent downpours and strong gusts. At about 7:30 this morning, the storm made landfall in Shanghai's sprawling Pudong business district, and 50 millimeters of rainfall was recorded by 8 a.m. The usually crowded Bund was empty as the water level of the Huangpu River rose to a staggering 4.5 meters. Traffic came to a halt amid the adverse weather. Since Sunday, hundreds of flights in the Shanghai Pudong International Airport and Hongqiao Airport were grounded. All ferry services, highways and parks were also closed. Municipal workers were busy clearing the streets after winds knocked down more than 10,000 roadside trees. An elderly man in Chongming Island was injured by a falling tree and was sent to hospital for treatment, according to state media. Authorities said at least 380 households suffered power outages, and over 2,500 rescue teams are on standby. By this afternoon, the typhoon had weakened as it gradually moves inland. In the adjacent Zhejiang province, the Maritime Affairs Department of Zhoushan issued warning signs to advise all tourists and residents to stay clear of coastal areas. All 27 major passenger ferry routes in Ningbo City were suspended. Meanwhile, in Jiangsu, all the public bus and food delivery services halted operations in Suzhou City. About 30,000 municipal workers were mobilized after authorities elevated the emergency response to level 1. Forecasters said Shanghai and parts of its neighboring provinces will receive up to 30 centimeters of rainfall between Monday and Wednesday. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
Japan's elderly population has hit a record high. Ahead of today's Respect for the Aged Day, Japan's Internal Affairs Ministry said the number of people aged 65 or older reached an estimated 36.25 million. The figure was up by 20,000 from a year earlier. The age group accounts for 29.3% of Japan's population, up by 0.2% from the previous year. About 15% of those 65 or older are men. That's about 26% of the total male population. And women aged 65 and above make up about 32% of the total female population at 20.53 million. In 2023, workers aged 65 years and above totaled 9.14 million. More than 25% of this age group had a job in 2024, unchanged from last year. The Consumer Council received more than 1,000 complaints related to airline tickets and services over the first 8 months of the year. Some of the complainants said they were forced to check in their luggage despite their baggage having met carry-on requirements. Timothy Lee reports.
Varieties and options for flight tickets are growing by the day, with many paying extra if they want to bring more luggage or pre-select their seats. But the process may sometimes result in pre-flight frustration. This as the Consumer Council received 1,057 related complaints in the first 8 months of this year, a 17% decrease compared with the same period last year. 42% of such cases involved budget airlines. Consumer Council Chief Executive Julie Wong said many airlines have canceled flights suddenly in recent times, ruining the travel plans of travelers. She added that many consumers will think airlines are taking advantage of them if communication between the two parties does not improve. In one such case, a complainant who paid $1,040 for a window seat was notified that the arrangement was not possible while checking in for their return flight. Another complainant said they purchased tickets that included the carry-on option for a 7-kilogram item, but was asked to check in the luggage at the airport gate. The airline apologized for the inconvenience but did not provide a refund. This as the Consumer Council suggested relevant sectors improve their policies and services and handle such situations in a humane manner. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The winner of the 2024 Miss Hong Kong pageant, Ellen Ngai, said she hopes to engage in charity work to give back to society. Mimosa Ngai reports.
Number 2, Lynn.
23-year-old Lynn was crowned as Miss Hong Kong last night. This year, the theme of the pageant was Proud to be a Woman. Being a contestant and now the winner, what does I think the phrase means?
I think proud to be a woman means it's very meaningful to me because I think women can do everything and anything. If she wants, she can do it.
The 23-year-old graduate from the Faculty of Public Policy and Politics of City University says she hopes to give back to the community by using her education and the title of Miss Hong Kong.
I know the society very well, so as a Miss Hong Kong and a student of PPP, I think I will try to do a lot of charity-related stuff to give some contribution to the society.
The government will announce the policy address next month. I also offered her suggestions regarding support for women who have recently become mothers. Meanwhile, the first runner-up of the pageant show was 22-year-old Emily Learn. The university student was also awarded the title of Most Photogenic Lady. The second runner-up was Amina Yearn, who was born and raised in the Netherlands. She studies in Beijing. Mims 9, TVB News.
The government has organized a welcome home ceremony for the city's Paralympic athletes. In Paris, Hong Kong achieved its best results since the London Paralympic Games in 2012. A compilation video of the athletes' best moments in Paris was shown at the ceremony. Hong Kong sent 23 athletes to the Games, participating in 8 events and securing 3 gold medals, 4 silver, and 1 bronze. Bokia double gold medalist Ho Yun Kei said, "The athletes continue to chase their dreams despite their physical limitations. They hope their stories can be a source of inspiration for the people of Hong Kong." Badminton silver medalist Daniel Chan, who retired from playing professionally after Paris, was touched by the hard work and efforts of his fellow athletes. Chief Executive John Lee praised the squad for their athletic spirit, calling them warriors in real life. That's the news. Thanks for watching. Pearl Magazine is up shortly. See you then.